Hello. Today we are going to talk about IJK Software. There have been people asking me to do a video about it, so if you looked at the previous one, I did something about Tansoft, which was a software company owned by Oric, and then Loriciel, which was the biggest French software company. And I believe we could call IGK the British equivalent of Loriciel, which is probably the most famous second-party software company. So this is the logo from IGK. This is a business card from John Sinclair, the most known of the developers, and the inlays for two of the games which I do not have, which are missing. Cribbage and backgammon and tic-tac-toe game. So, IGK. I made a list of the IGK games. Most people thought it was mostly Oric, but they actually started on the Acorn BBC, Micro and Electron. And they've been active mostly from 1982 to 1987. But there were a recent interview of John Sinclair in the Club Oric magazine, and he said that that was mostly the Oric computer making money. They did not that many on the BBC, and by the time they were on the Spectrum on Commodore 64, they barely sold 10,000 units of Rocket Ball, which John said was his best games, compared to the 150,000 units just for Xenon 1 on the Oric. So I'm going to put the full list in the description for the one who is interested. Not all the dates may be correct. It's always based on emulator sites, on archiving. It's not always correct. Some of the games did not have the name, so I had to do some cross-referencing, but there you go. So IJK Software was started in 1982, and the reason the name is IJK SSS is based on the name of three members of the family. So J is John Sinclair, I is Jan Sinclair, that's John's uncle, I believe, and K is Keith, father from John, who helped financially. So John was making the games, Jan was in publishing marketing, and Keith was helping financially. The first game they released was Candyfloss on the BBC, which we have here, which would be later ported by Jan on the Oric. So it's actually Candyfloss on Hangman. It's not an incredible game. There are two games on the tape. One is a small business simulation, like you have a Candyfloss stand and you need to make money. And the other one is a Hangman, so the typical game where you have to guess a word. Yeah, each time you fail there is a body part appearing, and when all the body is displayed you lose. So that's their very first game, but that was on the BBC. The first game they made on the Oric was Xenon 1, which has nothing to do with the Atari ST game called Xenon or Xenon 2. They just happen to have a very common name. And this game is one of the most well known on the Oric, mostly because it's actually very good in terms of gameplay. It has only one weakness, which is that you can't move and shoot at the same time. That was caused by the fact that the programmer at the time, John, did not know how to read the keyboard properly. So he found out a memory location which seemed to contain the key number, and he used that. Problem is, this was not the proper way of doing it, which is why you can't shoot on fire, but it also led to the Oric company to make sure that this memory address will stay correct on the Oric Atmos, else Xenon will stop working. And they absolutely wanted Xenon to keep working. So that's about my introduction. There are some more trivia, which I'm going to put in the description, but I don't want the video to be too long. So this is an ad from Oric owner, I believe, where they, I think it's the first issue, where they announce the first batch of games. So we see these 3 ones. So Candyfloss and Hangmad, 2 games for 1. We find the same thing here with a 3D Maze and Breakout, where you have 2 games. One with a wireframe maze where you have to escape. The other one is a clone of a Breakout. It's not incredible, it's not bad, but it's playable. 3D Maze I don't think it's interesting, but Breakout is worth trying. Then we have a second generation of games. So we have Ghost Gobblers, Green Cross Toad, Prop 3, and Frigate Commander. Ghost Gobbler, I don't think the cover art is incredibly good. But fortunately the game is much better. It's actually a very decent Pac-Man clone. It's very playable, it reacts nicely, the graphics are perfectly okay, it goes faster over time. I really like it. I wish it had a better cover art. That one, in my memory, was good, and then I tried it again. It's not very good. The keyboard, and that's common on many of the IGK games, is not very reactive, and the keyboard layout is kind of strange. Like you have 2 keys to go left and right, which are kind of logical, but move up and move down, yeah, it does not really work well. And presentation is not awesome, so yeah, it's an okay attempt, but it's probably not the best of the type on the Oric. Frigate Commander, that one I had when I was younger, and I played so many hours on it. It's a simple simulation, it's all written in BASIC, it's not very fast, you don't have many commands. Basically you are around an island, probably UK or maybe the Falkland, I don't know, and there are boats on planes and things like that that try to attack you, and you have to defend yourself. If you search for YouTube videos, you will find one where the person who's playing has absolutely no idea how to play, because the game basically asks you to enter commands, like what do you want to do now, Commander? If you don't have the user manual, there is no way you can play. So basically you have to enter commands like AC for alter course, AS to alter speed, and then you enter command like northwest, south, east, M to access the map, S to surrender, H for hold, which means continue on the current heading and speed, FS to fire CCAT, FC to fire charges, FE to fire exocet missiles. The CCATs only work against planes, the charges against submarines, and the exocet against boats. Small boats you can shoot in one go, big boats you need to shoot multiple. You of course can be shot yourself, so you have the damage report, and your objective is to sink 3 submarines. So it's not bad. Just one hint, don't try to be too logical with the radar and sonar. It's not related, oriented based on the direction you are going. If you see the dot on the left, then west. If the dot is at the bottom, then go south. Don't try to imagine, yes, I'm oriented this amount, so this thing should go... No, it's much simpler than that. So, yeah, not bad, and I did like the cover art, it was quite good. Then we have some French ad. So ISN Diffusion, which was a French importer for the Oric. Logiciel, 3 novelties from IJK Software available at ISN for your Oric. So we have Zorgon Revenge, Gubi, Xenon one we already had seen before, Chess, Damsel in Distress, Dam Buster, Don't Press the Letter Q, Zebi, and Playground 21. So, Zorgon is the follow-up of Xenon. Technically it's as good as Xenon, but the gameplay is kind of strange. So Xenon was very straightforward, multiple sequence. You shoot these ones, then you have another sequence, you shoot them, eventually you need to refuel using the system. It was quite easy. Zorgon's Revenge, on the other hand, has 4 different games which trigger in a random sequence, so it's kind of difficult. You can't really train on one particular level. Very often you're going to fail on the same one. One particular level have to catch a bird, which is very annoying, and the keyboard mapping is strange. So yeah, it's very weird, and I believe that there are at least a few versions of the game where the inlay documentation, which tells you which key to use, is not actually correct, and it was designed for the Oric one, and it was changed in the end. So it's technically a good game. I don't really like playing it. I prefer Xenon 1. Chess, which is actually pretty decent. I actually had this game a bit a player playing in a club when I was in France. The guy was so sure that there were no way in hell that an 8-bit game could beat him, that I asked if it was fine to use an emulator in turbo mode. So I use a turbo mode, I use level 9 or something, which normally takes a very long time for thinking. The guy managed to make a mistake and lose. He was kind of annoyed. So it's not crappy. Well, it's an 8-bit chess game. The good thing is, because you need to get a lot of memory for computing all the games, these things tend to load super fast. It's awesome. Dam Busters. So it's a kind of a flight simulator where your objective is to destroy bridges, dams. And you have some bombs, and you have very simple controls. It's actually not too bad, except you don't see everything. So I tend to crash myself on mountains because I didn't realize they were there. But probably possible to play if you take some time. Don't press the letter Q is a very special one. Basically, there is very many levels. Not from the author. I can't tell you much about the pathways. When I began writing this program, they were simple and safe, but soon the program was designing them itself. Time passed. The pathways become dark and frightening places. I set the computer to add games to the pathways. With sinister speed and efficiency, it created dozens of different video games with hundreds of versions and deviations. When the pathways were complete, I could not survive in them. My computer began to hate me for my weakness. I programmed frantically to throw 30 beacons into the pathways, so survival became possible. Is there a nice surprise at 30,000 points? I never found out. The pathway got me every time. As yet, I haven't even made it halfway to that 30th beacon, but one day I believe someone somewhere will do just that, and the pathway shall be conquered. Andrew Moore, November 1984. It's a funny game. Worth trying. Try to understand it. You will die often until you understand how it works, but yeah, worth trying. Don't press the letter Q. Then we have Playground 21, which is a bit like these games where you have to climb ladders and things like that, but mix up with a coloring system. So when you move around on the platforms, they change color. Well, I never managed to finish it because for some reason the controls are super non-reactive. Despite what they are saying, Playground 21 is a superb machine code arcade game specially designed for the later fanatics. Can you find the key to the Playground 21? Yeah, maybe. I could not find the key to play it. Gubi! I've actually not played it. For some reason, it failed to load on my machine, and when I tried the emulator tape version, it displayed loading Zebi, searching, and could not find. So apparently, you have to do a heist. You are playing the little pink character, and you have to go through the mazes to find the money. You must avoid the demon skulls and cunning creatures which inhabit the maze. To help you in your task, you have been supplied with a magic spray. Use this with care to stop the creatures. Zebi! A tremendous new scrolling arcade-style game in which you control Zebi by coiling up his spring and bouncing him from level to level. Same thing, could not load it, so maybe one day it will work. Even my new tape drive is still having errors, so yeah, that's annoying. Damsel in Distress. So it's a great game, technically, and it's absolutely unplayable. I believe the only person who finished the game were using a cracked version with a trainer. The collision detection is pixel perfect. The problem is that the creator knew that, so he made all the traps be almost pixel perfect. Even finishing the first level requires tremendous skills, or luck, or both. Some people think that Manic Miner is difficult, or that what's the name? It's a PC game where you keep drawing Dark Souls. Well, I challenge any Dark Souls player to actually pass the first level of Damsel in Distress. There you go. So that was these ones, but there are some other games which are not necessarily well known. So obviously there is Xenon 3, which goes with the two first, Xenon 1 and Xenon on Zorgon Revenge. Xenon 3 is an interesting case. It was not actually made by John Sinclair, and it was not actually made as a Xenon game. It was submitted by somebody called Wu as the name The Genesis Probe, and they decided to make it a Xenon game by adding the title Xenon 3 and changing some of the sprites so they will look like in the main original games. It's technically quite a good game, but same problem as Zorgon. It's multiple different mini games. The idea is to collect animals, something like that. I did not really like it. I actually bought it new back in the days, expecting greatness, and I was sorely disappointed. On the other hand, we have the good old classic Space Invaders. Absolutely nothing special about that one. It's a Space Invaders. It has all the features, the small spaceship passing on the top, multiple levels, different speeds. It's actually perfectly playable. It's a quite nice game. And then we have to end up all these what we call board games on simulations. So you want to play a good game of draw, so you have chess, now you can play draws. Nothing much to say. It plays, so it's working. Reversey, another board games. Nothing special to say. It's playable. It works as well. Super Frit, another of these games where I had quite good memories. Slot machine. It did not pass the test of time very well. It has some nice color animation for the cylinders, but yeah, it's not very interesting. I mean, it's a slot machine game. And Trick Shot. That one is obviously the picture has been made with a pen, felt pen, kind of cheap looking. And I mean, it's a snooker or billiard game. I guess it's not bad for the Oric. I will not spend an hour playing that one, but maybe I'm not for the target of the game. And then, oh yeah, and I forgot, we have Fantasy, which is a text adventure game. That's the only one in the entire IGK software, which is text mode. Pretty much every other game is high resolution, graphic, so that's kind of an exception. And in the CO mag, so I hope they're going to accept my apology for stealing their material. There were a letter from a C64 player who apparently loved Rocket Ball. Dear IJK Software, I am just writing to thank you very much for a fantastic game. I am nuts on aircraft games, but when I first saw Rocket Ball, I thought it was an ordinary game. It wasn't until I played it that I realized it is going to be a winner. I had seen the film Rollerball and enjoyed it so much that when I saw your game, I wonder if it could be anything like the film. I don't know if it is anything to do with the film, but it captures all the violence and spectacular action. For the first 10 minutes after I had loaded the game, I could not play it because I was laughing so much all the way. The player fall and how with a quick elbow to the opponent's face the ball can be used. Once I controlled my laughter, I soon picked up how to play the game. As I say, I love aircraft simulator, but even my best one can't come close to Rocket Ball, which now takes pride of place in my collection of 30 assorted games for my Commodore 64. I love Rocket Ball. I wish to thank John S. Sinclair for his masterpiece. He's got my vote anytime. It's sure to come up in the chart. Please try and persuade John S. Sinclair to try his hand at combat simulator. Say blah blah on wow. Yeah, like higher, it will include vertical short economy. So yeah, letter of a fan. I love your game. Please make a game of a totally different style, which is kind of funny. I received some few like that for some stuff I actually worked on. It's always funny. But yeah, so here you have the full list of their games. So 3D Maze, Battle of Atlantis, Beep Beep on Beep Munch, maybe that's the same, Blackjack, Breakout, Flags, Hangman, Hyperdrive, Invaders, Leapfrog, Mutant Breakout, Patience, Pontoon, Strato Bomber, Star Soccer, Casino Roulette, Caterpillar, Five Aside Football, Peg Leg, Quest for Freedom, and Castle Frankenstein. That was on the Acorn. On the Spectrum, we had a Big Bad John, Crime Busters, Mind Your Head, One for the Road, Mutation, Heavy Armed Roboid Destroyer, Wizard Spell, Colin the Cleaner, who said that? On the Commodore 64, only these three, Juiced, Juicy, which is a Juice clone, Crazy Car, and Rocket Ball, which, as we saw, did not sell a lot. I also put some trivia. So the Princess Rose in Xenon is actually named after a marketing contact person he had a crush on. The Zorgon boss in Zorgon's Revenge is inspired by the Mr. Tickle children book. And this is something interesting for all the people who are complaining about why a modern Oric game were developed on emulators and saying it was cheating and not in the spirit of the time. Well, the game was developed using a cross-assembler on the BBC computer, and the code was transferred to the Oric using the parallel port, like Xenon 1. On Zorgon, that was similar, but using CPM on the floppy drive. So yes, the two best-selling IJK Software Oric games were not actually written on the Oric, so there you go. And IJK shipped about 60,000 games in one single shipment to France during this heyday, and pretty much all the IJK games were translated to French with sometimes very awkward result, but we already saw that with Tansoft. And where are they now? Well, Keith is retired. Ian ran a company called TechPoint Service until last year, and during the interview he made for the CO Mag, the uncle actually passed away. He was been sick for a long while. John is still active in the computer things. He's not in video game anymore. He's worked on equipment for people with disabilities to help them use computers. He's been doing a lot of home automation, Internet of Things, IoT, and is now the CEO of Notify, an AI-powered disaster notification system, thing which apparently can predict and warn you to maybe check your infrastructure before you get leaks, air contamination, and things like that, which seems kind of a fancy thing. And this time I'm going to try something different. I am going to put the game's videos, some capture I did at the end of the video, so you can get a rough idea of what the game looks like. And let's do a family picture. Will they all fit in the camera? We don't know. And actually they do. Not bad, not bad. And that one is Frigate Commander. So yep, there you go. I hope you learned some things. And if any of you know where I can find a cribbage on backgammon, I will be interested. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.